I'm Liz Hirschnoff-Talley, and welcome to Capital Coffee Connection, where we have a wonderful opportunity to sit down with our elected leaders and talk to them not about politics and policy, but about the heart and humanity. So many times people will say, oh, she's just a politician. Oh, he's just a politician. And they kind of refer to politicians and elected leaders as these cutouts.
Right.
And through this podcast, what I am hoping to do is to dispel that myth and to really bring out these amazing stories, because I see and I've gotten to know many elected leaders who are really interesting, incredible people that are working really from their heart and are so passionate about the work they do.
Yeah.
And I mention this each time, the idea of the human genome, where really all people on this earth, 8 billion plus, are 99.6% the same. So there's a 0.4% difference. And the question is, like, what is the difference? And how do we celebrate the difference? And how do we actually enjoy the difference, as opposed to so many times where we are fighting and where we're against each other because we are a little bit different.
Right.
So the best part of this podcast is getting to research people, especially new members of the House.
Yep.
And today, my guest is Nikki Budzinski, and she's from Illinois' 13th Congressional District.
Yep.
And her district is, she refers to it as a string bean. It's like half of a rainbow. And it goes from East St. Louis all the way up to Champaign, Illinois.
Yep.
And one of the things, some fun facts, because I didn't realize this, which is that East St. Louis, which is in Illinois, is directly across the river from St. Louis, Missouri. And I don't think that everybody kind of really recognizes that you're that close.
That's true.
And Nikki grew up in that district. And there was one more thing. You grew up near Champaign. And Champaign, Illinois has two songs, both called Champaign, Illinois, written by Bob Dylan.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
So one was written and sung by Carl Perkins. And that one, Carl Perkins is also the guy who wrote Blue Suede Shoes that, of course, Elvis made even bigger.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because that song, which was back in the 1969, it says, the first time that I went there, they treated me so fine. Man alive, I'm telling you, I thought the whole damn town was mine. Up in Champaign, I say Champaign, Champaign, Illinois. I certainly do enjoy Champaign, Illinois. And then in 2010, Old 97's the band.
That's right.
Redid it, and Bob Dylan had completely different lyrics, and those lyrics were just in short, no, you will not go to heaven, you'll go to Champaign, Illinois.
I think they're from Champaign, the old 97.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you.
And the one thing that I'll just end on is, and this was a last fact that I just thought was incredible, is that you went to the University of Illinois, which is in Champaign. I know there's a few campuses, but the main campus.
Yep.
And I didn't realize there were 32,000 students on that campus.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And you were one of those students.
Yes.
And once upon a time, you were a young student activist, and you were sitting there in the union looking at leaders and going, I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And now as a congresswoman, you have returned there, and you're actually the person on the stage. And I just feel like giving young people that impetus to get involved.
Yeah.
And again, we don't talk about politics and we're nonpartisan, but just the idea of reaching out to young people and saying, make a difference, get involved. So that's a big way of introducing you and welcoming you. But I just felt like for people to get to know you, because hopefully people all over the country are going to hear this, you're a very special person.
Thanks, Liz.
And your city and your state, your cities and your state are very interesting.
Yes, I love my home.
So welcome.
Thank you. First of all, Liz, thank you for providing this very unique, platform for us to kind of talk a little bit about ourselves, because you're absolutely right. In politics, sometimes it feels like things have to be condensed to 30-second sound bites.
Yeah.
And so within that 30 seconds, how does anybody get to know anybody? And so this is such a great opportunity for me to just share a little bit of my path to getting me here today, and then, some of the things that I care about. So thanks a lot.
Well, I'm glad. And I think everybody can agree that having coffee together is just the best way
it's
to
like
just
breaking
chill
bread.
and hang out. Exactly.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Cheers to that.
cheers to that. So let's go back to the beginning of Nikki time.
Yeah.
You have many generations that are from Illinois.
Yeah.
And you grew up, and talk a little bit about it, because your parents, I understand, they were both in the education, teachers, your
My grandparents
How did that work?
were. Yeah, so you talked about Champaign, and maybe I could take a minute to talk about what a special place that is for
Love
me.
to hear it.
So my grandparents, my grandmother went to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and so did my grandfather. They actually met at the Illini Union cafeteria. My grandfather was actually checking my grandmother out at, just as a cashier, and she was a little short of the money she needed to pay for her lunch, and he covered her cost, and they stayed in touch even after she had lunch, and ended up getting married and having 3 daughters. And
Amazing.
It's amazing, and it's just kind of the beginning of why I think the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign is so special. It's not just that my grandparents met there and went to college there, and I have to say, very uniquely, my grandmother went to school at a time when there weren't a lot of women going to 4-year colleges, and the fact that she got a degree, and she did get a degree in education. She spent most of her career in special education. My grandfather started his career as a teacher as well, and then went on to become a superintendent. But they were people that were always committed to the importance of public education. And so I learned a lot from them, spent a lot of my summers with them, very special. But the University of Illinois is also where my dad graduated from college. He worked at Kraft. Kraft, actually, we make all of the mac and cheese. In Champaign at the Kraft plant.
That's amazing.
That is right there. That is a plant that my dad worked at when he was working his way through school. And so, there are great companies even beyond just the university's footprint in Urbana-Champaign. Yeah. But both of my aunts went there. My other aunt was a gymnast. I was a gymnast when I was growing up.
Oh, I was going to ask that was your sport when you were growing up.
That was my sport. And I was a competitive gymnast through even before high school and throughout high school. But then gymnastics is unfortunately one of those sports that you can't keep up with when you're 46 years old, as I am today. You eventually become a little less flexible.
You still have muscle memory, but you just have a little less,
a little less flexibility. But, I followed my aunt into gymnastics, and she did gymnastics at the University of Illinois. But you're right, Liz, it is surreal to get the opportunity to represent now the university. A lot of people ask me, where did you become interested in government? Where did you
that was a question I wanted. How did you become an activist? What spurred that?
And so I actually would say Quad Day at the University of Illinois. Quad Day at the University of Illinois is actually kind of the big student organization kind of fair. And so you can get registered to vote at Quad Day, but you can also walk around and meet with all of the student organizations on campus.
Which is wonderful. So they get exposed to everything, not one party, not one issue, but everything.
That's absolutely right. So we have a really big Greek system. I was actually not Greek at the University of Illinois. I chose to get involved in student government. Right. I chose to get involved in surprise. And then I'll tell you, shockingly, I was a college Democrat. I became the president of the College Democrats when I was in college, but I really found my way to those organizations and to activism through Quad Day when I was a freshman. I became involved in a lot of student organizations, and we were at that time really focused on voter registration because it's so important. And that's should be a nonpartisan issue. Just the importance of everyone exercising their right to vote. Making sure that students understand that it's important for them to register on campus and vote for some of the local races that are happening
in their neighborhoods.
Where
they are living.
And so that was really something that I worked really hard on when I was in college. And from there, ended up doing some really formidable internships. I had the opportunity to intern for former United States Senator Paul Simon in his last year. A legend. He ran for president. He had the bow tie brigades. He famously wore a bow tie all the time. But in 1996, it was his last year in the United States Senate. Right. And I had the chance to work for him. So those were some of the more formidable moments, but they all really connect to Champaign-Urbana.
Yeah. Did you ever have any of those jobs which were retail or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so give us because I think everybody's thinks that you kind of just become something and you forget that you work in these places that are maybe not so much fun, but the best experiences and really good learning opportunities.
So I was a waitress throughout college. Okay. I loved waiting tables, and it's so funny because I have friends that either they love it or they hated it. I actually loved it because it's a real people skill, It was I loved the service this industry, being able to kind of meet new people. If you had one kind of sour table, you could go on to the next table, and
Right.
they were the most delightful people
Right.
you'd meet all day. So you meet a lot of people, and it's funny enough that actually really at a very basic level, the business that I'm in now is really a people business too.
It's all about talking to people in retail, because
Yeah.
it's listening to them, hearing what they need and what they want,
And how to deliver.
and how to deliver. But the
Yeah.
listening part, I think, is really, really key in a lot of the work that you did and now you do.
Yeah.
What is the best advice you ever received, and what is the worst advice you ever received?
So I would say one of the best pieces of advice, and something that I like to continue to talk about, is about the importance of being kind in this business. I think sometimes in the rough and tumble world of politics, kindness can oftentimes be mistaken as weakness.
Yes.
I think you can't be tough and still be a kind-hearted person. And I think that if we tried to be a little kinder, listen more to some of our colleagues on the same side of the aisle or on the opposite side of the aisle, and try to find the places where we can agree, I think we'd be getting a lot more done in Washington, and just in life in general.
I agree.
I think that's transferable to anything.
Yeah.
I think that something that I, might have disagreed with is, I think that all of our lives and our careers are not linear. I think that my path to running for office wasn't an expected path for me. And so I think sometimes young people are really encouraged to know what they want to do. What's your 5-year plan? I'd always be asked that in interviews. I'm sure you had been too. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Quite frankly, the honest answer oftentimes is, I don't know, and I think it's okay to not know. And I think it's okay to kind of take a path less traveled, and not take the linear path sometimes in your life and career, because ultimately you'll always end up where you're supposed to be.
And I also believe that the doors open, and you have to have guts to go through that door.
Yeah.
And something interesting is always on the other side. And it's like kind of like how life is. Like when you see an opportunity, or when you see something, to push yourself to try that, because like you said, you can have a very safe life where you don't do that. It's not that interesting perhaps, but no matter what you do in life, if you're always kind of looking for something a little bit different, I think it leads you to interesting places.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, I would not have run for office if I didn't agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that was completely, I saw an opportunity back home, knowing that I'm representing now a district that many great Democrats have run, narrowly lost. I knew this was a redistricting year. I knew that the district had a good chance of perhaps getting better. And I ultimately, when I was doing the gut check that you really do on whether you're going to run or not, I was like, am I going to be okay with not going for this? And if I'm okay with passing up this opportunity, then I'm going to stay. I was working in the White House at the time. I'm going to stay in my good job. There's no reason to leave.
Yeah.
But if ultimately I would look back and regret not trying, then I should do it. And I think that's what I ultimately obviously decided, is I'd regret not trying.
Yeah, I
And I'm
think
glad
it's a
I
great
did.
message.
Yeah,
It's a
thank
great
you.
message for everybody.
Thank you.
So, couple questions that are a little bit, quicker ones. I mean, you can elaborate, but just about you, because I think it's great for people to get to know who you are.
Yeah.
So, if you have time, do you exercise? I know you were a gymnast, but what exercise do you do now?
So I do. I try to organize or to exercise. I think exercising and physical activity is important, not just physically, but mentally. I do it almost as much just for the mental release
Right.
as I do for trying to stay fit. I worked out this morning. I mean, to be honest, a long walk to me is perfect. And that can be just enough. I really, during COVID though, got into yoga. I think yoga is a really great release, and it's also really great physical exercise. So I'm a big, I love vinyasa yoga. And so when I can do that, I try to do that. And then of course, like everybody else during COVID, I got a Peloton.
Yeah.
And I do Peloton
pedal
too.
around, pedal
and
away.
I pedal away.
And do you listen to music? I know you're going to listen to this podcast, so we'll get to that later.
course, yes.
And I'm sure you do listen to podcasts, but
I do.
Music. What music do you listen to that gets you going? Because sometimes you do need loud music that just pushes you.
Yeah, I'm still I'm a 90s baby, so I still love Madonna, but I also still obviously you can never go wrong with Beyonce. I consider myself even still a Swiftie. So I think it's just music that is upbeat and positive. I mean, that's what I like to listen to when I'm working out. It keeps me going on the treadmill.
Yeah.
But otherwise, being familiar Illinois. I'm a big Wilco fan. Jeff Tweedy is one of my favorite artists. He's actually originally from the district I represent. He's from Belleville,
Cool.
Illinois. But I think a lot of people associate Wilco with Chicago.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the mood. But, it's so nice now that COVID is over. I went to my first live show actually in Washington when I was there for legislative session and got to see Jenny Lewis, which is a great singer performer, but it's just so nice that we can get back to those things.
Yeah. This is a little bit funny, but do you play Wordle?
No, I don't. I know I never joined the Wordle
I
craze.
just started like about a month ago, so
Is it
I think
addictive?
it's kind of addictive. It's sort of like a fun thing to do in the morning when you wake up. I just thought like it takes like 10 minutes, but it's and so I'm pushing it now because I'm enjoying it. Is there any like game, like I like a lot games and I play with my kids. So is there a board game or a card game that stands out as something special?
Well, I love the classic Uno card game.
Yeah.
I have a niece and two nephews. They are each now at the age where they can enjoy a good competitive Uno game. And I feel like as Midwesterners, we always like our card games. So that's probably the go-to.
I love that game. I played a lot with my kids.
Yeah.
Favorite color?
I would say, my favorite color is blue. I would be specific. Actually, it's kind of like a peacock blue.
Okay.
That's what I would say. It's bright. It's
happy.
optimistic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you have any hobbies?
Oh, hobbies. I'm trying in this first 8 months since taking this job, it's really kind of settling in and finding the time. I will say drawing boundaries has been difficult. I am somebody who likes to say yes to everything. And so in order to find time for hobbies, I have to say no. I like to try to read. I'm reading right now a book. It's not super uplifting, but I think it is important. It's called Poverty by America, but it actually really outlines a lot of some of the challenges around our economy and how we tackle some of these bigger challenges, and not to talk about policy, but just one that I feel really, and they talk about this in the book, is the child tax credit is something I've become really passionate about. And so I do try to read. I probably should find like an easier summer beach read than just something as tense as
Colleen
reading.
Hoover might be a little lighter than that one. Where in the world would you like to travel that you haven't been?
Asia. Even so, I have
All of
never
Asia.
been. Yeah, all of Asia. I mean, I've never been. I would love to go to Vietnam, Cambodia. I've heard fantastic things about Cambodia in particular. I just Thailand. I really have not, embarrassingly, been anywhere in Asia. So hoping to get to go.
Yeah.
Sometime soon.
Yeah. Do you have a quote or a mantra, something that you live by that maybe somebody, who inspired you to be in this world, or in the political world, or just person that you've read about that just like you kind of think back, that's like a good one for me?
Well, so I will admit, Liz, I love Brené Brown. So
I do too.
yeah, so she always quotes the man, I like to say the woman in the arena, Theodore Roosevelt's speech about the importance of the credit shouldn't go to the people that are throwing the shade from the stands. It's really the person that's in the middle that has the guts to be there to fight it out and has, lost some, won some, been injured, but is still there and still fighting the fight. And if I get down or lose kind of my way, I think kind of going back to his speech is really motivating.
Yeah, and I'll just say that I agree because, I also think about like when you do get down, what is it that brings you back up? Is that speech? But what do you sometimes like just take a moment and just go, okay, I need a break. I need to go and do my big walk, and then I'm going to be okay on the other side. You just kind of have to push yourself through it.
You do, and I think, one of the things when I was first running, Speaker Emerita Pelosi always says this, is knowing your why. And so I think in this job, it is really important to always remember your why, even after you've been elected and every day after that, because, it's not an easy job. It's not an easy environment or easy culture. But if you want to make a difference, which really, quite frankly, that if I could summarize it just very simply, I just want to make a difference for the communities in Central and Southern Illinois that gave me this opportunity to represent them. And making a difference looks different in different communities because every community has a different need. But that's my why. And so when you do get down or you do kind of struggle, is I think going back to that purpose can get you out of bed.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what my favorite Brené Brown,
Yeah.
and I say this often, my kids and I, we say this, and it's choose discomfort over resentment.
Yeah.
And what I love is like we get into places that are really tough, but we still can push through and make a decision. Because if we don't, and we keep our mouths shut, or we don't change, we're going to end up resenting it. And
That's
then
right.
you go to that point where it really
you.
hurts you inside.
Yes.
Because you're just like, ugh, I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So that I'm a big Brené Brown follower.
Yeah.
But that one is a big one for me, that statement. So
I love that.
So now we're going to play this game, which we call Kiss, Marry, Trash.
Okay.
Some people know it with different names, but
Yes.
you're going to pick the
is a
thing
cleaned
you
up.
would kiss, the thing you would marry, and then third place, the thing you'd trash. Okay, and you can just list them, or you can give some reasons why.
Yeah.
They're easy.
Okay.
Okay, ping pong, bowling, miniature golf.
Ping pong, bowling, miniature golf.
Yeah.
I would marry miniature golf.
Okay.
I would, wait, it's ping pong.
Bowling, miniature golf.
Okay. I think I might kill ping pong and kiss bowling.
Okay.
Yeah. I like them all though, actually. I don't have any hostility
Sorry, you have
toward-
to rate them. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chocolate chip cookies, ice cream, or apple pie.
Ooh. Yeah, again, don't hate any of these. But I feel like I would marry apple pie. I just, especially if you could add the ice cream to the apple pie,
see,
maybe
there
a
you
combo
go.
answer.
Are you in politics, perhaps?
Yeah. But who doesn't, I mean, kiss chocolate chip cookie for sure, like anytime.
So you don't have to trash anything. We've just saved you from
I'm
trashing
positive,
it. That's
Liz.
perfect.
Yeah,
I
there
like
you
it. Seasons: summer, spring, winter.
So I'm from the Midwest. I prefer the cold to the August hot
Okay.
in Washington, D.C., which is very jungly hot.
Yeah.
It's very hot and humid. So I would say I would marry the fall. The fall was one, right?
Yeah.
All four, yeah. Marry the fall. I would kiss the spring. And I don't know, maybe kill the summer. I just, only because of this new gig, like this job that I
It's really
have. And
hot.
it's really hot these
I
days.
get
And
you.
then the earth is kind of on fire now with summer. Now we have all of these places that have over 100-degree summer days regularly. I'm just
it
not
makes
a hot.
It's hot.
It's, yeah.
Okay. If you were going to relax, and I know it's hard for you to find that, you just explained that, but Netflix, reading, meditating.
Ooh. Marry meditating. I think that will
Great.
serve you well, like long term in so many aspects of your life. Reading, yes. Would kiss reading. And then what was the other one?
Netflix.
Oh,
You don't have to trash
I would
anything.
trash. Yeah, I've been saying kill, not yeah. It's trash. I mean, there are some redeemable shows, but I don't watch a lot of
You don't watch a lot of
television,
TV.
to be honest. So
Okay.
I'll say trash Netflix.
Okay. Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Oh, I'm a big. I believe breakfast is an important meal. So marry breakfast. Dinner, I would probably trash just because you know what's so funny is sometimes in this new role, I will find that I can go like almost a day without eating if I start the day with food because the day gets so
Just
busy
go, go, go,
and you
go.
just go. And you're at a reception or you're at a dinner and I'd rather be talking to people than eating.
And not
So
having like
stuff in your
stuff in
teeth.
your teeth, which is crazy. Yeah.
Which happens. So I guess I would trash dinner because I think it's probably
do
the
without it.
meal I go the most without. Yeah, and then I guess kiss lunch.
Okay. This one I liked. This one really tells a lot about a person.
Yeah.
Pastas: fusilli, penne, spaghetti.
Oh. Okay. I would say Gosh, this is really hard. So my favorite dish that my dad makes me is his vodka penny pasta dish. He has been making vodka penny pasta sauce well before it was on every Italian menu. So I would say Mary Penny because my dad makes this fantastic dish. I guess trash Frizzelli. Only because spaghetti, I'm like kind of a classic girl, so like spaghetti.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't go wrong with any of them.
No, a good sauce, whether it's your dad's vodka sauce or just a good tomato marinara.
That's what really makes the
Pomodoro.
Pasta.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that,
I
or is
love
the
it.
noodle the most important?
I think it's just the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to now come to the last question. And you talked a little bit about it in the beginning, about kindness.
Yeah.
But my last question that I ask everybody is about joy.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to know what you think is joy.
Yeah.
What brings you joy, and the idea of if you are joyful, whether it's personally, career, community, how you can spread that to others. Because I feel like whatever energy we spread that's positive has really a ripple effect that then can become waves out.
It does. That's so lovely, Liz, and so true. What brings me joy, I would say, are kind of probably some of the simpler pleasures. So what I mean by that is it could be spending time with my niece, going to just her swim meet and being there to support her and know that she's really nervous and getting to talk to her before she gets in the pool. Or it can be I get to visit with some of my constituents that honestly in some parts of this district are in some of the more underserved. I represent East St. Louis. Some communities that have had some very systemic, generations-long challenges. And just being able to be in the community and this happened to me last weekend, hold someone's hand and listen to them and know that they feel like they've been heard and that I'm going to try to do everything I can to help. Just that connection, I can't tell you that, me alone can change everything about the outcome of what we're trying to work toward. Actually, I can answer that question. Me alone, I will not be able to, but it's working together with other people that you can really make a difference. But so I think it is just spending quality time with people, showing up, listening, having people feel heard, I think is really important. And you can tell when you have.
Yeah.
And so that brings me joy.
Yeah.
I think that carries through and I think that carries forward and hopefully is contagious. Because if you're joyful and you're creating more joy, I think that's what you're saying, Liz, is that then that gets spread.
Yeah.
And that's what we need more of.
We certainly do.
Yes,
we certainly do.
we do.
And I want to thank you
because
you are a kind person, but you are passionate and you are going to be that woman in the arena for all that you can do for others. And I just want to thank you and thank you for being here and thank you for the hard work because it isn't always easy, but I understand why it is important and I'm happy that it does bring you joy. Hi, it's Liz. Please join me every Tuesday for coffee to talk about heart and humanity with our elected leaders. Ciao.